Today is the 200th episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast, and there's lots of things we could talk about and celebrate. But in the end, we've decided that there's one thing that has stood out putting together the previous 199 episodes. Now, one thing that is holding back most business owners, and one thing that will make a huge difference to you and your business. Now, tune into this episode if you want the hard truth about what's stopping you from getting the business that you want.
And if you're listening to this right now, I guarantee that there is something you want to improve in your business, and you're waiting to know more.
We coach thousands of people. Like, you can see into my soul, it's like, yeah, I'm that good. Actually, I'm not. I've just seen this like hundreds and hundreds of times.
The problem is there's so much information out there, and there's so many opinions, so much advice you could get.
I don't want to be a rich, what do they say?
Rich.
That's the one.
That's such a poisonous thought, but it's such a common one, right?
So if you're listening, buckle up, because this is like a bit of a kick in the ass, slap around the ears, and you need to get busy. Alrighty, welcome to the 200th episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast. I'm pretty amazed that we're here. Phil, welcome. How you going, my man?
Yeah, good, excited. 200 episodes, man. Bit of a milestone.
It is. I can remember the first one, which we recorded in that box place where there were builders next door making noise.
We had to re-record that because there was so much noise through the wall.
So bad.
Yeah,
anyway, so we're going to have a good time today. Look, I thought about what we could do on this episode, and we could celebrate a bunch of stuff and blow our own trumpets, but that's not really our way. It's really about helping, so that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, man, so what are we going to be getting into?
Well, again, like, you probably listen to this pod because you learn a bunch of stuff about how you can improve your business, and we're grateful that you do listen and that you find this podcast interesting. But hey, I think the key is we need to make it interesting the whole time. And like you said, we don't just want to celebrate. We want to make sure this is a useful episode, right?
And I think that's the thing that I really struck me with this is I once had an old boss explain to me that you can have two types of conversations. Now, you can have an interesting conversation or you can have a useful conversation. And interesting conversations are those where, you enjoy it, you learn something, you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I kind of didn't know that. You feel a bit juiced up and excited about it, but you don't actually do anything with it, and change doesn't happen. Nothing actually practical gets put into place, and things don't change. Just kind of a feel-good in the moment. The other type is the useful conversation, which is where you actually learn something, and then you actually take that learning and you make some changes in your business and your life to move things forward. And the thing is, nothing actually changes until you take action. And it may not always be perfect, it may not always work perfectly, but you're going to get feedback. And if you keep taking action, you will get success. And so I guess the key thing that we've looked at over going through the episodes we've done is that nothing actually happens until you do something different. And listening is great, but actually doing something is what it's all about. And that's what we're passionate about. So today we're really going to drill into that. So if you're listening, buckle up, because this is like a bit of a kick in the ass, slap around the ears, and you need to get busy.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's make this useful. And I think if we do have interesting conversations or, have these kind of podcasts which aren't useful, then we're going to run into some problems. Like, for example, you're not going to take real action, and therefore, like you said, no positive changes happen in your business. Like, nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
That's right. And if nothing changes, then what happens is the problems you've got carry on. So, your cash flow issues, you're still struggling to make payroll, you're scrambling around for tax, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul when it comes time to pay your suppliers. The team issues, you can't find the right people. Once you've got them, they're not the right people, or they are the right people and they leave because you're not the right employer. And that stress just keeps piling up.
Yeah, well, in fact, it gets worse, man, because, while you're going through these problems, it actually just, starts to pile up and pile up and pile up, and then you run out of energy just trying to keep it all going. You're working so hard trying to fix these problems that it just mounts up. It's like that old story, right? Like, you can hold a glass of water out in front of you, it's really easy. But if you're holding it for 3 days, 5 days, 8 days, 10 days, it starts to get unbearable. You can't hold it. And so as these problems pile, you actually have the secondary problem of you actually can't handle it. Your resilience goes down, right?
Yeah, that's huge. And I guess the thing is that if you let that happen, your competitors are just going to steal your lunch. The people who are actually taking action are going to just blast past you. That's going to be massively frustrating. So it is important to actually do something. And I think the challenge is, a lot of people listening, they're already busy. And I get that. They're busy doing the jobs, getting the projects done, out there in the field, making it happen. So we're not suggesting that, you're lazy if you're not getting this done, but you're just not working on the right stuff. And listening to a podcast and getting excited about something and then just getting sucked back into doing everything that you've always done, that's not going to change your results.
Yeah,
because
100%.
If you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got.
That's it.
And that's the key.
Yeah. Whereas on the other hand, like if we can take these interesting ideas and actually make them useful, we start to take action. Behavior changes, you're doing different stuff, you're getting different results. Different input equals different output, right?
100%. And then your business problems start to improve. And I'm not going to say that every change you make, every behavior change you make is going to be super successful straight away. But I know if you're not getting the results you want and you take action, you're on the right path, because you'll figure out, oh, well, that didn't quite work. Or, yeah, most of that worked. And you can tweak and test and carry on from there. So that's massive. And once you're on that path of actually making change, then your energy and your motivation improve, because you can see some results. You're kind of getting a positive feedback cycle rather than that kind of negative spiral of, what do we say, negative spiral of crap.
Yeah.
Which just goes in on itself. So you'll actually feel more motivated and energized about taking further action.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, you win or you learn, right? And actually the learning is a win in itself. So
it's massive.
Whereas if you don't take that action, then you get neither. You don't get the win or the learning. You just get the same, which is generally not what you want, or otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this podcast probably, and you wouldn't be trying to improve your business. You'd be sitting on the beach in the Bahamas sipping Mai Tais and sending us postcards, which if you're not doing that, there's probably some stuff to fix, which means there's some action to take, and it's probably not what you're doing right now. But if we can do this and we can make it useful, we can get stuck in, we can take those actions, we can get the learnings, we can take further actions, then we start to grow a great business. Something we can be really proud of, something we can be happy with, something that's getting the results that we actually want from it. And you realize the dream that you went into this with. You started your business because you wanted a better life. You wanted more money, more time, more freedom. And when you start to make these changes and you actually get the results of these changes and you continue to improve in that way, things get better, and the business starts to really, deliver those results that you actually entered this for, which I think is amazing. And it's such an exciting opportunity, but it takes action. And
you got to take action.
Right. And then it's that whole thing of if we can make it from interesting to useful, the useful part is where we implement the interesting stuff. And that's where the magic lies. So
it is. This 200th episode today, it may not be a long episode, I don't care about that, but it is going to be really helpful. And we're going to give you the key to actually taking action, how you actually do that, because there's a process to this, there's a method. And we're a coaching company, as you know, and this is what we eat for breakfast, the problem of implementation. And I think sometimes we're probably a bit shy about talking about what we do, but I don't know why that is, because it's crazy successful. And it's how you take the learning and actually make stuff happen. And so we've talked about on this podcast everything you need to be successful. I mean, we've talked about it many times. We've talked about it at a general level. We've talked about specific strategies. We've given examples, case studies, a whole bunch. And there's like the pricing stuff. The numbers are massive. You've got to cost your jobs. You've got to do a P&L. You should have some KPIs and measure your labour utilisation, and all that sort of stuff is huge. So that's something that you need to do.
Yeah, well, we've jumped in on your team as well,
Yep.
like how to attract and hire the right people, how to bring them on, how to onboard them, how to manage them correctly, how to have difficult conversations. We've talked about how to run KPIs, how to build out your team structure, basically how to get the engine that you need, that factory, that capacity that you need to actually get the results you want as well, right?
Yeah, and then there's systems. There's like getting the stuff out of your head, kind of McDonaldizing your business so other people can do it. There's the marketing, how do you target the right people? How do you do it online? How do you do it offline? How do you track the return? We've dug into that. And if you'd implemented all of this stuff, as you said, you'd probably be sipping Mai Tais in the Bahamas. You'd be retired.
Yeah.
So the big lesson is you've got to take action. Implementation is what makes changes, and listening and just talking about stuff, not so much. So the challenge today is we've got to take action.
Yeah, and I guess in this episode we're going to dig into why you get stuck, and then more importantly what you actually need to do to take that action and to make the behavioural changes needed to actually get those results in your business. So should be good.
It's a good place to start is why are you actually stuck, and understanding that, a bit of awareness of that I think is helpful. And the biggest reason is fear.
Absolutely.
Fear of basically things going wrong, fear of making a mistake, fear of looking stupid, fear of being rejected, fear that you're not good enough, all that sort of stuff sits there. Fear of not knowing what to do. So all those negative fears sit there, and they lock you in this kind of cycle of listening, having interesting conversations, but not doing what you need to. And sometimes it's actually a fear of success as well. It's like there's something in you that really doesn't see yourself as successful. Your identity is like, I don't see myself as successful at a subconscious level. And so you sabotage your progress. You don't do stuff because you're like, well, what will people think of me? Oh, my family will, I don't want to be a rich, what do they say?
Rich prick.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And so that's a real problem. So that fear is massive, and it's psychological. It's not like you're going to die. It's not like someone's there with a gun to your head. It's like it's psychological. You kind of have that what if scenario. What if this doesn't work? What if I waste money? All that stuff. It's all that what if stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a massive thing that just people kind of, they feel good because they've listened to something like this podcast. They're like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I could do that. And that kind of takes away a bit of the pain. But really there's a fear underneath that stops you actually doing anything with it, which is what you've got to do.
Yeah, well, one thing we always tell people is, like a lot of what we teach, it's not complicated, man. It's not. It's just not easy either. So it's not complicated. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's hard. And so doing simple stuff that is hard, the reason it's hard is because of everything going on in your head. It's usually like, hey, here's a simple strategy. If you just do it, it'll work. But the problem is that all the stuff going on in your head, the stories you tell yourself, those loops around, hey, this isn't going to work. It won't work for me. I'm not smart enough to do this. I can't do it. It won't work in my market. It won't work with my people, whatever. Insert reason here, but really it's a fear, right? And it's that hesitation, that what if, like you said. And so I think that's really the hardest part in business, or actually in life, really. A lot of stuff that you need to do in life to actually get a better result from what you want. It's not overly complicated, right? I mean, even like take fitness, for example. It's like, hey, man, exercise more, eat better. Like, simple strategy, right? But the thing is like, that's not easy to do. It's simple, but it's not easy to do. And it's the same with business success, right? Like, back cost your jobs, tweak your pricing. It's actually a very simple process, but it's hard to do because all the fears that you have around actually implementing what you find. So I think that's massive. It's definitely the biggest one. And I think the second one is you get too busy with urgent stuff. Like, everybody is busy in the day. There's always some fire burning. There's always some phone ringing. There's always something going on. But the reality is that a lot of the results that you seek are in the important stuff you need to do that's not necessarily urgent. Think about like a marketing strategy. Maybe you want to send out some lumpy mail. If I send it today, send it tomorrow, send it next week, not wildly different, right? And so as a result, that phone that's ringing, you pick that up instead of getting your sales letter written and your marketing out the door. Problem with that is that today does turn into tomorrow. Now, that's not a huge issue. But when today turns into tomorrow, it's easy for tomorrow to turn into next week, which turns into next month, which turns into not at all, just because that phone's never going to stop ringing. Those fires are never going to stop burning. Your team's never going to stop asking you questions. Your clients are never going to stop having queries. Like this stuff, this urgent stuff, just takes you away from the important stuff you need to do to actually make any meaningful change.
It's very powerful, and we do that in our lives too, don't we? We eat too much crap instead of going to the gym because it's easier to do that. It's like that short-term, long-term thing. And what sort of sits around that too is we tend to be our own bosses, and we're kind of the king of or queen of our own kingdom. So there's no one there kicking our ass to get stuff done. There's actually no accountability. There's no one really holding your feet to the fire to take action on stuff. And I think that's important. So we often lack accountability. And there's some people who can do this for themselves, but there's not actually that many.
I would argue that no one does this perfectly. Nobody. And I think that's another one of those fear things, right? As we start to say, well, some people can do this, why not me? Or I guess I'm just not that type of person. I'll let you in on a secret. Nobody does this perfectly. Every single person has at least one area of their life where they, let themselves off, where they tell themselves a story that it's okay, I'm busy, that's why I can't do it. This is, I'll get to this tomorrow, whatever. Everybody has that in some area of their life. And that's where the accountability comes in. Having somebody else that won't let you off, that won't validate your reasons, your excuses, your stories.
Your BS.
And we'll just call you out because a lot of the time that this excuse, this BS isn't actually legit, but you can tell yourself that story and you can believe it because it's your story. But when somebody else hears that story, it seems very thin, very quick. And that's where the accountability comes in. You need someone to help you stay on track. I think that's really key.
Yeah. I've heard someone else describe this as well as it's like being in a very average relationship. Sometimes we'd rather be miserable with someone than miserable by ourselves, which I don't think is a good strategy.
No.
But you get comfortable with the struggle. You're like,
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, oh, this is my life. This is kind of what it is, and it's familiar. Becomes sort of psychologically familiar, and so that can be a real problem. And you let yourself stay there because you probably don't believe it's possible for you to actually be better as well.
Well, another thing, bro, is you can become so comfortable with the struggle that you actually make it part of your identity. And you say, I'm the type of person that works real hard. I push through struggle. I'm resilient. And you wear it almost like a badge of honor where like the struggle that you have in your life and your business becomes so much of who you are that you actually subconsciously don't want to change it because then you wouldn't be that person anymore. And so you become so comfortable, you actually don't just accept it, you integrate it into who you are.
Well, and I would say that it's consciously you actually want to change. It's subconsciously.
Yeah.
You're locked into this view you have of yourself. And this gets a bit woo-woo and a bit out there, but identity is very powerful. We see, as you said, see ourselves as the hard-working person who has to bash through stuff, and I get my identity from actually what I do with my hands. I get my identity from being able to say to people, I'm so busy that I'm just tapped out all the time. That's kind of how I see myself, and say, well, we'll actually conform to that image of ourselves consistently, and that locks us in this kind of just listen to stuff and not actually taking the action that we need to.
Yeah, and I think the next thing that's going to hold you back is, in terms of taking action, is thinking you have to know everything before you take action. And I think that's such a poisonous thought, but it's such a common one, right? Like, we always think, hey, and before I do this thing, I really want to know what I'm doing. I want to get it right. I want to take in all the information I can. But the problem is there's so much information out there, and there's so many opinions, so much advice you could get, and there's only so much of it that you really need before you need to make a decision and take action. And the reality is you can't know everything before you take an action. You can't get it perfect. You can't be a wizard at something before you try. You will never actually know how to get something right before you try it. Never. And so it's the same. I mean, I could watch someone play tennis for hours, but until I pick that racket up, man, I don't know anything. So, there's that old poem, like The Man in the Arena.
Yeah.
And it's like, until you actually get in the arena, you don't know what it's like to have a fight, man. So it's the same, like, until you actually try this stuff, until you take the action, there's no amount of learning that you can do in advance that will prepare you for the real thing. So, do your due diligence, learn stuff, take in information, but you do at some point have to try and understand that you won't get it perfect the first time. But it's that fear of not knowing everything before you go in, which often makes us take too long, procrastinate, or not do something at all. And I think that's a really dangerous place to be.
It's massive. And I think about the business that we've created. I've been in business for 15 years. And I really struggled at the start. I made so many mistakes, messed up so many things. And people look at where we are now and it's like, oh man, you've got it all sorted. Life must be great for you. And it's like, well, it's only great because I've made so many mistakes. Yeah. That's the only reason. The more mistakes you make, the better you get at this stuff. It's pretty simple.
And dude, we still make mistakes
all the time,
every day.
Yep.
But I suppose one of the key differences, that we've developed is, well, firstly, we can hold each other accountable, which is helpful, and secondly is, we try to keep each other. I think it's something we do quite well. Try to keep each other in the mindset of, hey, that didn't work. What did we learn? How can we improve it? And that way it never holds us back from taking new action, which I think is the key here, right? It's like, we can't know everything. We got to try, and then we got to improve. That's how we keep winning, and that's how we learn, and that's how we don't screw it up next time. So that's really the
And
the
it
key.
turns out that that feels obvious now to us, but this is so uncommon.
Oh, it's
It
taken
is
ages
so
to get that
uncommon for business owners, and we coach thousands of people. Almost all of them have got to unpack that mindset and understand that actually it's making mistakes and learning as we go that's the key to success. And almost everyone is like, I want to get it perfect before I start. And you never start.
Yeah.
You just listen.
And if you're listening to this right now, I guarantee that there is something you want to improve in your business, and you're waiting to know more. You're waiting to learn more. You're listening to this podcast, you're reading books, you're listening to other podcasts, you're watching YouTube clips, trying to fill your head with as much knowledge before you take action on this thing you know you need to do. Trust me, at some point you need to just do it.
Get started.
Get started.
Yep.
Which really brings to the next thing, which is not wanting to let go of control. And I think as we take action, some of the actions that we take to make improvements will require letting go of control of something. Like passing it on to someone else, delegating it, setting up a system that will work instead of you just doing the thing. And all of this stuff is difficult. Letting go of control is hard. I mean, everybody struggles with this. Especially if it's something you're good at, something that you've done for a long time, something you can deliver on. To let go of control and relinquish that makes it's a very hard thing, but it will hold you back from any success.
I've found it easy to let go of control. It's mainly because I'm not good at anything, so it's easy for me.
I'd argue with that, man.
Sometimes you've tried and failed before, so you once bitten, twice shy, and I get that. But you got to put on your big boy pants here. I think the thing that I really find important, though, is so many people are surrounded by small thinkers and negative people.
Absolutely.
And they have their cabinet, their group, their peer group is people in the same stuck position, and misery loves company. And so they talk about how hard it is, what's not working, how unfair it is, all that sort of stuff. And if you find yourself having those conversations with people in your life, you need to actually upsize your peer group.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean just ditch people, although sometimes I've had to do that. I think we all have. It's just like I respect that person, but I can't have them as part of my headspace anymore because you are the average of the people you spend the most time with. And so if they're small thinkers and negative people, you've got to get some better people, some better thinking in your life. That will drag you up. The other stuff just drags you down.
And you'll find actually a lot of the people that you hang out with, when they see you start to, get ahead, and they see you hanging out with people that are, lifting each other up. And, actually some of the guys that might have been in that previous group, they want to come with you. They're like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, those people seem cool. Hey, can I come too? Hey, can I be part of this? And so the thing is, it's not about letting people, go by the wayside. It's about surrounding yourself with people that lift you up, push you forward, help you out. And you'll actually find a lot of the people that might not have been doing that in the past, they might actually change their ways. They'll come along for the ride. You don't actually lose people in this process very often. It's just a matter of making the conscious decision that it's like, hey, I'm not going to be part of this negative cycle anymore, and I'm going to be the one to change it. So I think it's really
definitely
important.
Getting people who are thinking bigger and thinking ahead of you, and you can model, is massively important. That really helps you take action.
Yeah.
So how do you do it?
Wow, that's where it gets interesting.
That's the $1 million tradie question.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's be blunt. This is what we eat for lunch every day. Lunch, breakfast, and dinner. And we know what works here. And it turns out you don't need a psychologist.
Nope.
You don't need, to lie on the couch and have your head examined. What you actually need is a method. A method to follow to do this. And if you follow the method, then a lot of the mindset issues you have you'll get through them. And there's only 3 things you need to go from interesting to useful in terms of conversations and action.
Yep.
The first thing is a plan. The second thing is some tools, and the third thing is coaching. That's simple.
Pretty simple, man. Well, should we start with the plan?
A good plan violently executed is better than a perfect plan next week. Who said that?
That was Patton.
Well done.
Yeah, hey, look
General
at that.
George S. Patton.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great guy.
He was. He was brutal.
Brutal.
Got stuff done.
That's it.
There you go.
That's it. But the point is, you need a plan. Like, it's overwhelming. You probably in your business are experiencing a situation where you have so much stuff that you could improve, so much stuff you could work on, and it's probably overwhelming. And so without a plan, you're going to try to do everything and you're going to end up doing nothing. Or you won't even try to do everything because it's just too overwhelming. You bury your head in the sand, you do nada. So I think that's the key, is when you have a plan, it's like not just what to do, but in what order and in what time frames. And as a result, you're able to bite off one chunk and actually get it done and actually start to make progress. And I think if you don't have a plan, I mean, it's like we've said in so many different situations. You hear it like, without a vision, the people will perish. Like, it's like you need a place to go, right? If you don't have a plan, any road will take you there. There's so many quotes we could drop, but the point is, if you don't know what to do, then you're not going to actually do anything. And I think the key with this is that clarity of what to do is going to lead to action, because I'm going to do this at this time and in this order, and then you can actually just follow it and start to see the results. And I think for us, when we have new clients, like, we start with time and money. I think the key is until you get a little bit more time, you can't do anything. Like, you can't take action on a plan if you don't have time to do it. So the first thing we do with new members is we carve out a bit of time so you can actually work on stuff that matters. Second thing we do is we make you make a bit more money, so then that way you can start to breathe again. And I think those two are definitely the place to start, right?
Time and money critical, because that's like force multipliers for the rest of your plan. And so we run a 6-week planning process. So when members join, we have a launch session which outlines the first 6-week plan, and it's only got a few things on it.
Yeah.
And we work in 6-week planning cycles because that's a short period of time. You can stay focused for that period of time. You put not too much on it, and then at the end of that 6 weeks, you're like, well, it's a bit of a sprint. You have a rest for a week, and then you crack on to the next week, the next 6 week planning cycle. And so people just know exactly what it is. And for most businesses, that plan, pretty much 95% of them, is the same at the start, which is the time and the money. Occasionally some businesses different, but generally not, because most people don't have enough time and money. And until you get that right, as you said, everything else is difficult.
Yeah.
If you think about, the way I think about this, and I struggle with this, is if you don't have a plan, what I typically do is I'll see something and I'll start it, and then I'll see something else and I'll start that, and I'll see something else and I'll start that. And so I've got all these balls in there, these 20-30% finished things, which I started with energy and I haven't finished.
Yeah.
But with a plan, it's like you can't do that. So you just put all that aside. When people join our program, we don't even let them look at other trainings.
Well, people come in and they say, hey, but I really need to do this. I really need to do some marketing. I really need to hire this person. And we're like, hey, man, first 6 weeks, you're going to do this plan, these things only. Oh, but I need to do this. We will. We will.
Yeah.
We will. It's only 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, how long? You've been like 4 years of where you're at. Like, what's 6 weeks to get some basics in place so that everything else will work better? Because reality is, how are you going to do that marketing strategy when you don't have any money and you don't have any time to do it? So it can take some money to get this going, and it's going to take some time for you to actually do it. Like, without the money and the time, you can't actually do anything else. And that's why it's where we start. I mean, imagine a fire department, whole city's on fire, and they've only got so many engines, and they come out and they're like, we're going to put the whole city out at once. It's just not going to work. Like, you have to pick 1 or 2 strategic buildings, put them out first, and then work your way out. And like, hey man, some of those buildings may burn to the ground in this city, but if we can save the majority, that's a pretty good win, right? Reality is, we've got to put the blinkers on, and we've got to work on the most important stuff first, the stuff that's going to make everything else better.
Bro, I'm gutted. You just stole my story. I was thinking about horse racing. You know, some horses can race, but a lot of horses, when they get to the racetrack, they're so distracted. They're looking at other horses. They're kind of all over the show. So they put the blinkers on them, and all they can see is straight in front of them, so they run straight and true and fast.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same principle here. We've put the blinkers on, just focus on this and get it done. So good plan makes a massive, massive difference.
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of the biggest things that we do at PT is the planning process. It's helping people, you know, as they get started, we tell you exactly what to do and in what order. Once you get your head above water, well then, you know, we can be a bit more flexible with what we do next, depending on the situation of your business. But the key is that we're always helping members hyper-focus into something that they can actually chew, you know, not biting off more than they can chew. Because, you know, we always say it, easiest way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So we tell you which bite to have, you finish the bite, then we show you the next one. Then you finish that, we show you the next one. And that way the overwhelm starts to dissipate. You actually get stuff done, you actually get forward, and, you know, the problems start to be solved, which is massive.
So you have a plan, that's number one. Number two is tools. So when you have a plan and there's a project on it, you actually need to know how to do it. So you don't want to be making stuff up from scratch.
Yeah.
And so the way we work it, and the way that works best, is you have videos, you have examples, you have scripts, you have templates, you have GPTs, you have basically stuff you can copy to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, imagine like you go to build a house, right? And you got this great blueprint, the plan. You know, you got all the plans, you got everything there, it's all ready to go. You know exactly how you're going to do it, and you turn up and you have no tools. Like the van is empty. And so you're scratching around the dirt trying to find sticks and rocks to try to get anything done. I mean, you're not building that house. It's not happening. So it's the same, right? Like, yeah, you got the plan. We tell you what to do and everything, but we also supply you with, you know, the hypothetical van full of tools so that when you actually get there to start on this plan, you've got everything you need to just do it. You don't have to build stuff from scratch, which is really the key. It gives you a massive head start. And then that way you can actually just get busy, get things done, and start to reap the rewards. So those tools are critical, man.
Absolutely massive. It makes life easy. And the third thing is what we call coaching. So that's kind of what wraps around everything, because you will get stuck at some stage. You'll be like a bit unsure about something. So coaching is like you've got someone or people to put your hand up to and say, hey, I'm stuck. You know, what am I missing here? So that's absolutely massive, because if you get stuck and you get stuck for too long, you get, you know, frustrated, you get disenchanted, and your energy just drops away. But if there's people you can actually get help from to keep the momentum going, that makes a massive, massive difference.
Well, I think this is where it really ties back to, you know, all the stuff we were talking about earlier about why people don't actually make interesting stuff useful, why they don't take action. And I think the hard part is if you're experiencing any of that, you know, like you have fear or you're too busy with urgent stuff, no one's kicking your butt, you're comfortable with the struggle, you don't believe it's possible. The really hard thing with all this is you are probably unaware of these things. They are below the surface, they're in your subconscious. And so you'll be experiencing one of these problems, which is what's making the simple thing hard, you know. But the problem is you don't know it, you haven't seen it. But we do. We see it because we've seen it thousands of times. You know, and we've seen people just like you having just the same holdbacks, and we see it. It's as clear as to us, but it won't be to you. You know, your own limiting beliefs are never clear to you, or otherwise they wouldn't be limiting beliefs. You'd have overcome them. And that's where I think coaching is so powerful, is that we can see why you're not taking action. We can talk to you about it. We can help you move forward. We can help you overcome those problems. And that's where you can actually just implement the simple stuff and start to win, really, which is the key.
The thing about the program we run and coaching is that it's actually quite scientific because it's observing behavior over a long period of time, recognizing the patterns, and then when the new situation comes along, you know exactly what the pattern is.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's quite buzzworthy because makes you feel like a winner because people are like, how did you, like you can see into my soul. It's like, yeah, I'm that good. Actually, I'm not. I've just seen this like hundreds and hundreds of times, and the good news is you are special, but you're not that special. You're the same as everyone else.
Yeah, and I think it's just the same for anyone listening. I mean, you'll go to a job and you turn up, and it takes you 5 seconds. You're like, this is what's wrong. Like, I can see it. Like, man, I had gutters overflowing the other day, and Duncan, one of our members, turns up. He's just like, I got him come around. He's like, oh, dude, you don't have enough downpipes. Like, it was just like, quick, Of course he knew. It was simple to him. But, to me, I was looking at him like, I wonder if it's this. The gutter's bending down. Maybe we got a problem here. He's just like, no, you just don't have enough downpipes. Simple as that. Quick as for him. Why? He's seen it 1,000 times. Same for us. It's like, people struggling with some kind of holdback, something that's stopping them taking action. And we're just like, oh, it's this. That's what it is. It's because you're thinking this way. They're like, oh, how did you know that? It's like, because I've seen it 1,000 times, man. And that's why you need a coach, is because you just can't see that stuff for yourself. If you could, it wouldn't be the problem. And I think it's really as simple as that.
Yeah, and that links into the peer group. And so one of the things that we do very intentionally, and is probably the thing that our members find most helpful, is the community of like-minded individuals that are there to support you, because there's no problem that they haven't solved.
Yeah.
And it's fine when a coach says, hey, do this, but when you see 5 or 6 or 10 other people responding to a question you might put in the members group, or responding to questions on coaching calls, saying, hey, I was in exactly the same position, this is what we did, this is what worked. It is so motivating, it's so liberating, it's so powerful. You're like, oh, flipping heck, they get it, easy, it's worked, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's really powerful when your peers call you out on your BS as well, and we see that a lot. Is like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you've been saying you're going to do this for like 4 weeks. When are you going to, pull thumb and get on with it?
It's the support too as well, right? Like, I think one of the best things I love about our community is that, everybody's going to have struggles in their business, and everybody is going to feel some kind of way about the fact that they haven't been able to solve them. And I think when you've got other people surrounding you constantly that are you, they are you, they've been where you've been, or they are where you are, they are exactly the same spot as you. And they're able to say, hey dude, like I was there too. I had these problems too. And you go, well, you know what? I'm not a dummy. I'm not an idiot. I'm not the only one who's got this all out of whack. And so you feel that support, you feel, lifted and held by the group, where you're in a position where you're like, actually, this is fine. I can do this. And then you've got other people, like you said, who have done it before. They've already implemented the thing, got the win. So you can see not just the support of I'm not the only one, but then the proof of people just like me are doing this and winning. And I think that creates the belief. It really helps with a lot of those mental problems that are holding you back.
It does. And it's about having someone to kick your butt and hold your feet to the fire, call you on your BS, because we all have BS. I think that's massively important. Not only coaches, but the other people in the group. If you are getting coaching, get into a community that has a group of people. That's the secret sauce that people don't get.
Yeah, well, alone we go fast, together we go far, right?
That's right.
That's the key.
And what we find is, you need a plan, you need tools and coaching. And people come for coaching because they want the information, the tools and the information. And then very quickly they realize actually that the most important thing is the coaching and the community, and they stay forever for that because it's so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's massive. And holding your feet to the fire is also about looking at the numbers. And so we look at the numbers of your business every month. We download it from your financials, put a dashboard together, and what you know and show in terms of numbers is what you get.
Yeah,
you manage what you can measure.
Well, the story's always right there in the dashboard. And I think the hard part is we often tell ourselves stories, right? Like, hey, this is why this is happening. This is why that's happening. But numbers don't lie, man. It's all there in the numbers. And so because we can see it, it gives us the truest look into what's going on in your business, which really helps us to, to navigate the problems that you're having and move past those mental roadblocks, move past the stories that, we're telling ourselves, or you're telling yourself, or, your people are telling you, and just see it for what it is. See the facts, make rational decisions, and solve problems. It's really what it's all about.
Yeah. So it's a pretty simple process. I think that's what we wanted to dig into today on the 200th episode, which is there's a lot of episodes we've done well. Pat on the back, mate.
Yeah,
You've done good.
Dude. Yeah.
Is that you can have interesting conversations, but we want to make them useful because that's where activity happens, behavior change happens, and then results happen. That's the key to success. And there is no shortage of great ideas, but better results do require that different behavior, which requires the action on your part. And it's not enough to listen; you have to act. The action takers are the ones that gets the results.
Absolutely. All right.
Let's leave it there, bro. Happy days.
See you later.
See you next time. Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.